Hello. Today, I'm going to defend being average. Now, average by definition is where most of us are. We're kind of in the middle. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with aspiring to be excellent, with aspiring for improvement, with wanting to be better than average. That's where I live. Every day I try to do better. But the information that we see online is so out of proportion with the number of people that it makes sense for. We're just out of balance. The internet is geared toward the extremes, both the really, really good and the really, really bad. And most of us live in the average, in the middle. My name is Chris Butterworth. This is the Healthy Butter Fitness channel. This is a place where we talk about being in our 50s and 60s and fighting off the effects of Father Time. Every day, every step of the way. I am 56 years old and I feel great. When I was 50, I did not feel great. I was broken down. I had chronic back pain. I had elbow issues, shoulder issues. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and how I've made an improvement. The path from being a little bit broken down and chronic pain to feeling great and jumping out of bed every morning and ready to go, functional fitness was my tool that got me through that path, got me through that journey. Kettlebells, clubs, and Mace. What I found is that building this program was kind of difficult because there's so much information online. Most of it is geared toward the extremes. And I was trying to put together a program that I could use as just an average guy trying to get better. My goal with this channel is to make life a little bit easier for you than it was for me. So with that as the backdrop, let's talk about being average and what that means. I'm going to pull up here. I printed out a copy of a bell curve, standard distribution. You might remember this from the school days way back when, and I'll bring it up here so you can see it better. Most of the people, 7 out of 10 people are going to be in the middle for any randomized distribution. And when I think about that, I'm going to use American male height as an example. Let's just talk about this. I'm going to round a little bit. My numbers aren't going to be perfect, but it makes the story a little easier to understand. But the average American male height is 5 feet 9 inches right now. So that would put us 5'9" is the very middle, the highest number. 70% of people, 7 out of 10 people, are going to be within one standard deviation, and the standard deviation for male height is 2 inches. It's not exactly 2 inches, but let's use that. So that means between 5'7" and 5'11" is where 7 out of 10 people are going to be. And I think inherently, if you take a step back and you think about your friends and the people you know, and I'm 5'9", so just I'm right in the middle as luck would have it. But if I think about the people I know, most people, 7 out of 10 people being between 5'7" and 5'11", I think that inherently makes sense. If you go another standard deviation down, which is 2 more inches, so if you go, here's 5'7", if you go 5'5", up to 6'1", so you get the light blue areas and the white areas, that is 95% of all people fall between 5'5" and 6'1". And again, that kind of makes sense, right? When you think of somebody taller than 6'1", that's pretty tall. That's not common. You know, unless you have a specific group of people, former athletes or a family that has tall people, you know, whatever. In general, if you go grab 100 people, there's not going to be that many people taller than 6'1". And then when you start to go past that, go one more standard deviation, so 6'3" on the top side and 5'3" on the bottom side, you're now getting 99% of the population. You're getting just about 99.7% of the population, just about everybody. People that are taller than 6'3" is 1 in 1,000 in the American male population. Again, depending on who you know, I know a few people that are really tall over the course of my adult life, how many people that I've met. I don't know a lot. I don't know that I've met 3 or 4 thousand people. And so the fact that I have 3 or 4 friends that are that tall, it's skewed a little bit. But by and large, we know that most people are kind of between that 5'7", 5'11" number, right? So how does this relate to fitness? Well, when I think about fitness in terms of, again, as a 50-something-year-old guy, talking about being in our 50s, 60s, 70s, and trying to be functionally fit, pain-free, active, flexible, the stuff that you need to do to be a fully functioning human. When we think about that, so I'm not measuring in terms of raw strength. There's not really a single factor, just how functionally fit are you? Can you run, jump, throw, catch, swim, climb, carry, lift, move, get down on the ground, get back up? Can you do the things that humans need to do? And I'm thinking of my own journey here. Most people are in this average area, right? You can do most things. Even when I was broken down, when I had chronic pain in my back, getting up in the morning sucked. Getting in and out of the car sucked. Bending down to pick something up, I was like an old man, just like it hurt, and I had to be so careful as I bent down. But I still did everything. I did yard work, I did housework, I drove to my job, I did my job, I played with my kids, I played tennis. It was painful and I wasn't very good, but I played, right? So most people can do most things. Now, there may be some things where they're limited. They can't reach all the way up with one hand because their shoulder's messed up, or they can't throw because they got a bad elbow, or getting up and down from a chair is hard. But it doesn't stop you from being human, right? So most people are in here with some kind of ailment, right? Injury, repetitive stress injury, old high school football injury, whatever it is, right? Most of us are in this area. For me personally, a couple of things that I had when I was going through this, like I talk about being broken down when I turned 50. I had that chronic back pain, so getting in and out of bed, the car, just moving hurt. If I had to go on a 4-hour drive or a 5-hour drive to a vacation or for whatever reason, I could still make that drive, but I had to stop halfway and I had to get out of the car and stretch. And I would do a ton of stretching and I would try to get my back was tightening up and you could feel some spasms and it wasn't good. And then when I got to where I was going, it was like, oh, here we go. It was not good, right? It was not normal. I was definitely worse than average in that regard. But I wasn't to the point that I couldn't move and I couldn't drive. And I wasn't so bad that I was like one of the worst people in the population. I was probably somewhere in this light blue area over here on the side. I used to go out in the front street and we used to play catch with my son, and we would play with lacrosse sticks. Now, neither of us ever played lacrosse sticks, but we just thought it was fun to play lacrosse catch instead of regular catch. But my elbow got to the point that I couldn't whip the ball. I could catch the ball when he threw it to me, but I could do 3 or 4 throws and then my elbow would lock up and it would just be excruciating pain. And I couldn't snap that throw anymore. And so I was basically a dad that couldn't play catch with his kid. And that sucks, right? That was how much my elbow hurt. So again, it didn't stop me from being functional. I could go to work, I could drive, I could do yard work, I could play, I could do whatever. But I was probably somewhere over here. I was worse than average because most guys can play catch with their kids. So where I started when I turned 50 was somewhere in this light blue area, the lower end of average. Now, after a few years, it happened pretty quickly, actually. After 6 months, I trended upward really quickly. and I healed up and I felt better and better. Today, after several years of functional fitness, clubs, Mace, Kettlebell, today I am pain-free. I am able to jump up and do anything that anybody wants to do at a moment's notice. I can do work, I can shovel snow, I can carry stuff, I can do play stuff, I can run, jump, catch, throw, swim, whatever. I don't want to pretend that I'm like, best of the best over here, but I bet I am on, if you get 20 people together, I'm probably number 1 or number 2 out of the 20 in terms of just being able to perform whatever you want to throw at us. Again, not the strongest, not always the fastest, but in terms of just wide-ranging functionality and being pain-free, today I'm probably somewhere up here where the blue meets the dark blue. I'm pretty close over here. So functional fitness to me made a gigantic difference. But that being said, I was at the low end of average and now I'm at the high end of average. But my entire journey is within this average area. And the reason I bring that up is because most of what we see online is over here, way, way over here, to the stuff that is just ridiculously outside of average. And some of what we see is way, way, way over here. Take a look around YouTube, Instagram, the kettlebell stuff that we see out there. It's usually really big guys. Even if it's older guys, 50s and 60s, they're all showing you their six-pack and how ripped they are. And everybody, they're throwing up the 53-pound kettlebells, the 24 kg, or they're doing doubles, 2 24s. Everybody talks about, when you can do snatches with the 24, that's when you've really accomplished something. And if you've been on this channel before, I'm going to call it one particular person. Mark Wildman is somebody that I hold in esteem as high as you can hold. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. And even today, with everything I've experimented with and experienced and changed and tweaked and created, probably half of my program is still stuff that I learned from watching Mark Wildman. So huge respect for Mark Wildman. However, on the big side, whenever Mark talks about how much weight to do, he definitely says start light, and run through the program a few times. But he always talks about how every man should be able to do 50 pounds, 60 pounds, whatever it is. And I'm an average guy, and I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, almost 4 years coming up on, and I can't come close to 50 pounds on any of my lifts. And so it's a little bit disheartening. Mark doesn't talk about body weight percentages a lot. If you're 6'2", 225, maybe 50 pounds makes sense. But if you're average, that's a lot of weight. And so I think that Mark leans toward getting big and strong and being way out here on the side. And the reality is you don't need to be way out here on the side to be successful. Just if this is average and the people that are kind of injured and tweaked and not doing as well are on this side of average, just get to the other side of average. Just move up to the average. You don't need to get to 50 pounds, 60 pounds, 80 pounds. You don't need to do 10 minutes of snatch without stopping. Just do the movements with whatever weight works for you, and over time, move yourself toward the good side of the bell curve. The other thing where Mark talks, Mark spends a fair amount of time talking about being injured and deconditioned and being not able to swing a kettlebell at all. And so you have to start with just standing up. And again, huge respect. Nobody else is taking that approach. And Mark is taking a percentage of the population that couldn't otherwise get better. And he's working them from way down here up this curve. So it's a really cool thing that he's doing. However, again, you're talking about, 1 or 2 people out of 100 at this very, very bottom. You're talking about 1 of 1,000 people way down here. Most of us are up here and can swing a kettlebell in some form. When I think about all of the people that I work with that are my age, all of my friends that are my age, the soccer families. When my son was playing soccer, and we went through and met all the other families, and so my other son who has special needs, all of his cohort of friends, and all of the parents that they have, all of the people that I know that are within a few years of my age right now, most of them are kind of where I used to be, where they can do whatever, but it hurts, and they're a little dinged up, and they're maybe slow. If something falls under the desk, maybe a little bit slower to get down there and go get it, but they can, and they can do everything they need to do. They can mow the yard, they can do whatever. So I think that the vast majority of the world, or the vast majority of us, American men or women in our 50s and 60s, are kind of in this area, and a lot of us would prefer to move toward the good side. But again, what you see online is really big, buff, strong, awesome people lifting really heavy weights, and starting at square zero where you can't even do anything. So let's start at the very beginning. And I just think there's not enough programming here in the middle. So that was my point with today's video. Is it's okay to be average. In fact, we're all average. Most of us are average, and just getting a little bit better. Move yourself from one side of the bell curve to the other bell curve. You don't need to get to 50 pounds. If you're starting at 10 pounds, work to get to 15 pounds. If you're at 15 pounds, get to 17 and a half, get to 20 pounds. If you're doing that 25-pound kettlebell, you can work toward a 30 or a 35. But don't think that you're not successful if you don't get to 50. Most of my work today is with a 25-pound kettlebell. I do a little bit with a 30 and a 35. And most of my work today is with a 15-pound club, single arm. And I'm about to start doing some 17 and a half pound single clubs. So single arm clubs. So I am nowhere near 50 pounds. And I am so happy. Like, it feels so good to feel good. When you have felt bad, and then you get to feel good, you know how much of a difference it makes. And it wasn't heavy weights that got me there. It's just the motion, the movements, full shoulder range of motion, full kettlebell, full mace, just all of these exercises over and over and over again. My goal is not to be the strongest 56-year-old, but I love being one of the best functionally fit, able to get stuff done 56-year-olds. I hope this was helpful. I hope you take it to heart and you're able to do your functional fitness journey, because there's no reason we all can't get there. We should move the average up so that the average person doesn't have pain anymore and can do more stuff than they used to be able to do. And so if you do your part and you build your functional fitness program, you do your kettlebells and your clubs and some mace, let's all get there. We'll move the average up. In the meantime, it's okay to be average. Just keep getting a little bit better each day. That's all I have today. Thanks a lot for listening. Have a great day. Go get better.